The doctrines and practices of modern Pentecostalism placed a high priority on international evangelization. The movement spread to Africa soon after the 1906 Azusa Street Revival in Los Angeles. Currently, there are many self-governing, self-propagating, and self-supporting Pentecostal churches in Africa. They utilize the same means to evangelize that early Pentecostal churches used, such as door-to-door evangelism, meetings held in homes of interested inquirers, preaching in trains, buses, on street corners and at places of public concourse, and tent crusades held all over the continent. The charismatic resurgence in the 1970s had a large impact on the growth of the church today. The faith is becoming one of the most substantial denominations of Christianity in Africa. However, the Roman Catholic Church remains the largest Christian body of Africa. South Africa. In 1908, South Africa became one of the first African countries to receive Pentecostalism. A major reason for the spread of the Pentecostal faith in South Africa was due to the Apostolic Faith newspaper written by Seymour. The Apostolic Faith newspaper began circulating in Cape Town, South Africa, and eventually resulted in the establishment of the Assemblies of God in Cape Town and Johannesburg. Azusa Street missionaries Thomas Hesmelhalch and John Lake carried Seymour's Pentecostal message to South Africa in 1908. They moved throughout South Africa, and in 1913 Lake established the Apostolic Faith Mission of South Africa. In 1908, Peter Louis LaRue established the Pentecostal Zionist movement in South Africa. The Zionist movement and other African-instituted churches helped spread Seymour's message even further, although it is questioned if the term Pentecostalism can be applied to them. At the beginning of the 21st century, somewhere between 10 to 40% of South Africa's population could be called Pentecostal, but this classification varies depending on how the religion is defined. The three largest Pentecostal denominations that are present in South Africa include the Apostolic Faith Mission, the South African Assemblies of God, and the Full Gospel Church of God. West Africa. Pentecostalism was also carried to West Africa. In 1914, William Wade Harris carried the message of Pentecostalism with him throughout the Ivory Coast to Ghana. His message converted tens of thousands of people to Christianity. In the 1970s, independent charismatic churches began to surface in West Africa at a fast pace. These churches were influenced by missions from the United States, but have an African foundation. Ghana missionary Pentecostalism was introduced to Ghana during the first 3 decades of the 20th century. The foundation of the church was derived from the Assemblies of God and Apostolic Church in the United States and England. Over the last 20 years, Pentecostalism has become one of the most popular forms of Christianity in Ghana. Between the years of 1987 and 1992, the church grew by about 42% as rural and urban people joined different movements of Pentecostalism. The Ghana Pentecostal Council serves the needs of 120 churches in Ghana, Liberia. In August 1906, Lucy Farrow, Julia Hutchins, and others arrived in Liberia, the first location in Africa to receive Pentecostal missionaries. Farrow wrote to William J. Seymour saying that God had given her the ability to speak in the Kru language and that she could therefore baptize and heal many natives. Shortly after, other missionaries from the United States joined Farrow in Africa to Pentecostal faith. Revivals were held, and eventually the first permanent Azusa-influenced Pentecostal mission in Africa was founded. However, some American missionaries reported that some areas of Africa already developed manifestations of the Holy Spirit prior to 1906. Many indigenous churches were established prior to foreign missionaries on the foundation of the power of the Holy Spirit. In Congo, Brazzaville, Ghana, and Nigeria, movements that could be classified as Pentecostal had all taken on different African names. Ethiopia, Annalisa and Sanford Matson, Pentecostal missionaries from Finland, brought Pentecostalism to Ethiopia in 1951. Pentecostalism in Ethiopia continued to develop, and eventually the Full Gospel Believers Church was created in 1967. Approximately 2 million people claim to be Pentecostal in Ethiopia today.